It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreds. All right, it is 8 o'clock. Do you know where your indie horror is? It is right here, the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. I am Otis B. Dreds, of course. Rotting Ricky D joining us from not your home base, but hey, man, we got to get away sometimes. We got a good show tonight. We were testing out some audio and such, and we're hoping that our guest, Miss Jaime Hill, she is our neighbor to the north up in Canada. So we're hoping that there's no technical issues. I think we're going to get them all worked out. Welcome, Brenna. She is here with us, joining us. But again, as I mentioned, we have Miss Jaime Hill, who played the mom in Skinamarink. You're going to see that trailer, and we're also going to talk with Jaime after that. But hey, it's a big day, Rick. Issue 4 of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine has dropped, and you actually gave us a little bit of a surprise because it kind of dropped last night, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of a sneak peek, about an hour or so early, just to kind of get it out there for some people that wanted to do some early reading. So, but yeah, it went live today. Very excited about it. This is definitely an upgrade for the magazine. The look, the feel of it, it's bigger. It's got, I think, 4 additional pages. We had a lot of information we crammed in there, a lot of great interviews, a lot of great pieces about some upcoming projects that you need to check out. Our cover girl, Avriana, is looking amazing. She did a special photo shoot for us over at Sir Henry's Haunted Trail. That's the cover. And then we have our indie horror hotties for the first time. Not hottie, that's plural. Hottie. That's right, the Sinister X sisters. So we got a great piece in there on them and their picture. And they'll actually be joining us here on the podcast next month. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really good. I read the whole thing last night. A lot of good stuff in there, and I get over there to indiehorrorjunkie.com. You'll see it scrolling down there on the bottom. All the important links to feed your need. There you go.
Feed your need. Absolutely.
There it is, indiehorrorjunkie.com. Of course, our Facebook page, the Facebook group. And then there's the podcast group, the YouTube page. Get over there, subscribe. You get notified whenever one of these awesome shows come on.
Yep. We started the Indie Horror Junkie. Yeah, we started the Indie Horror Junkie group because we want people to get in there and tell us their thoughts about the podcast, anything they'd like to see added to the podcast, if they have certain guests or upcoming movies they want us to hit on or talk about or anything like that for the podcast or the magazine. That's your chance to let us know. Keep us in the loop so we can keep everybody else in the loop. And we started the...
Go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, we also started our own domain name for the podcast now. So you can go to indiehorrorjunkiepodcast.com, and that'll take you right to the podcast page.
And that you can get so much information on the podcast. I mean, just almost months in advance as far as guests go. If you want to stay updated, stay over there. Get over there. Follow, subscribe, do whatever you have to do to stay in the loop. Let's see, what else do I need to talk about? I do want to mention this little Indiegogo or Kickstarter project that's out. Hellvirus Haunted Asylum of Horror. Of course, this is going to give me my first chance to get in front of the screen. And so it is kind of passionate. A passion type deal. So want to help get it funded. It's got 17 days left. We're almost to our stretch goal, our next stretch goal. So get over there, Kickstarter, Hellvirus Haunted Asylum of Horror. Hey, some of us are in some, difficult financial situations, but the next best thing you can do with not only Hellvirus Haunted Asylum of Horror, but also a lot of these other Kickstarter projects that we may mention. If you can't, contribute that way, you can always share, and share more.
Absolutely.
It may end up with somebody, in somebody hands that can do something. So that's the best thing. So I wanted to get that out of the way. So yes, Rick, we have the mom from Skinamarink, Jaime Hill, joining us. Looks like her internet has gotten better. I see her backstage there, and it looks like it looks a lot better. Yes, I caught her last night. She was on with Steve Merlo, because that's one of an upcoming project I believe that she's involved in, Unseen, and I'm sure maybe she can talk a little bit about that. I don't know, but Skinamarink, my goodness. I want to save most of my ranting about this movie for when we get her on. How do you want to intro her? Because we're going to play the trailer, and I'm sure people have seen this trailer before, but we're going to refresh your memory here. So
yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and show the trailer so people can understand, or at least people who don't know about this indie film that really took off and exploded. They'll get a little taste of it there. Then we'll bring her on and we'll chat her up about it.
All right, here we go. Skinamarink.
In this house, in this house, in this house, in this house, in this house.
That's nightmare fuel.
It is very claustrophobic.
Welcome to the Indie Horror Junkie podcast, Jaime.
How you doing, Jaime?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I like watching that trailer every time. I catch more things every time I listen. I'm like, oh, I did say something in there, and then I see dark shadows, and I know what's going on in the shadows. But you guys don't know what shadows have something and what don't, which is good with me.
It's
hopefully it spooked everybody who hadn't seen that trailer before.
Well, I tell you what, it spooked me. I've been duped a lot of times when it comes to viewing a trailer and thinking I'm in for a real treat, and it turned out to not be that way. This did not do that. I seen this trailer and I'm like, this reminds me of a childhood nightmare, which is kind of what this is, all about. Why don't you talk a little bit about this? Because I have questions galore about this. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you. Talk a little bit about your experience in this film, and what Skinamarink and what this movie means to you.
How did this all come about, Jaime?
Sure. Wow. I'll start in the very beginning when Kyle reached out to me. He and I had spoke about well, basically, it was a mom role. And
Hmm.
I had other mom roles before. So in Edmonton, I had been known as the mom, and he reached out to me, and we discussed the type of movie. And he also has a yellow YouTube page already, and had already been making different clips and videos on YouTube, and that's where the heck one came from, which were also about bad dreams. He got a bunch of people to give him ideas, and he made them on YouTube. Skinamarink follows that idea, and it's also got a twist of the plot has more to do with the story of the children, and thinking about what those kids go through, and like why and where is the mom, and what's up with that dad too, like that's not a normal childhood. So not a normal childhood can cause some really difficult things for kids, especially when they're 4 and 6. So the movie had a mental health idea behind it, and it caught me right away. I have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I really enjoyed working in mental health while my kids were younger, and now it's still something I love to do, but acting and advocating for mental health at the same time is even better. Even though I know scaring people isn't very nice, but um, why are people scared is why I want people to start talking about that. And Skinamarink was meant to make people talk, and it did. It certainly did. Whether it was a
No,
one or a
it
10, and it doesn't
yeah,
matter to me because it was all about how it made you feel.
exactly. And I think that's a really awesome direction avenue, to come into when it comes to, filmmaking. It really grabbed me. It literally took me and put me in that house, put me as that little kid. And I'm picturing me and one of my siblings and waking up. I remember as a child,
Mm-hmm.
I feared, as weird as this is, but I feared coming home from
Yeah, me
school and
too.
finding
No, I
something
was
wrong
afraid
with
too.
my mom. Yeah, so that kind of
Yep.
put me in that kind of state right there. It really grabbed me by the boo boo, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term.
As an independent movie, obviously, did you all expect this to take hold the way it did and go to the heights that this movie did pretty much overnight?
No,
Hmm.
no. I just enjoy doing indie film with my indie family, and it was extending another leaf to a friend that wanted a hand, and I felt that I could display what the mom would be kind of feeling, and not really, I would never be able to look at my child in the eye with that kind of scary emotion or whatever that mom was going through at the time. Um, and just being involved in it, it just brings it full circle.
Mm.
Yeah, and it really took off. As me and Rick were talking before you joined us, before we went live, we were talking about, I mean, this movie was made, has the cast is 4 people.
Yeah.
The cast is 4 people. I think it's estimated at about $15,000 it took to make this, and it did quite well.
That's Canadian.
I was
Cana-
kidding.
Canadian dollars. Yeah, right, right.
12 American.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. That makes it even, more incredible, I think, because, I mean,
Even
to
more.
make something like that down here with $12,000 would be pretty incredible. I mean, you can do a lot with a little, We see that all the time with indie filmmakers. You can do a lot with a little, and this definitely did it. This is a really strange filming style.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. I mean, how did that come about? Because I
Yeah.
mean, like you
Yeah.
said, that
Yeah.
that particular filming style and the
Yeah.
way this was done, that was just so bizarre yet fitting, because like I said, it made you feel like you were part of that, you were there. And that, I think, is the biggest thing about that film, is because that adds to the tension, that adds to the dread and everything, that it makes you feel like you're involved there. How did that come about? Was that something that this was his imagination, as far as like, this is exactly the way I want this shot, this is my vision, or did this something just develop along the way?
So Kyle wanted it to be a nightmare, so they had blacked out all of the windows in his parents' house, and we all filmed on different days. So I actually didn't film with either children or Ross. I was by myself that day, and it only took about 4 hours. I sit on the bed in a couple different places and stand in different places. You guys don't always figure out where I am, but sometimes you hear me. That all happened in one room. But we spoke about what was going to happen and what was going on in the movie as we were filming this. So the whole, like, them being behind me as if the little kid was going to look under the bed, like, I could feel that when I was filming it. I wouldn't want to look under the bed either.
Mm-hmm.
So having the conversation that morning about what we were going to do, going up there, having that discussion prior, being able to go up there and sort of play that out however many times it took, and like moving the camera along to be along the bed or looking under the bed or looking towards me and then turning away, and how it's all cut that way. And, there was a lot of different cuts that Kyle had to make from what he had. He had a lot of footage that didn't make it. Which would have been fun, but I think it's you guys have to use your imagination more. You don't need all those noises to help you figure out who I am. Only a couple noises and just make you question, and that's all you need. And the kids, the question is like, what happens to this little boy? And like when he calls even for help, that he's hurt himself, and all of a sudden everything turns into a pretend phone. So there's some interesting dream nightmare kind of things that could happen. And it all happened in that house. And I wasn't there when the kids filmed, but it was the basic idea. They were in different places in the house, but they also did the same thing. We all did our recording. The sound recording was done after, and we did it downstairs. And so little Lucas was 5 at the time, and so his dad brought him up they live south of us, of Edmonton, so they drove up and did the sound recording, and Lucas just copied what he was supposed to say, and Kyle used different filters and different levels of sound, and even in all our voices, you can hear all our voices in there, depending. He's like layered things in there, and then the sounds layered with different filters, and and then the camera's got the filters added to it to look more like something like Blair Witch, or things we did in the 90s, which I love the nostalgia.
Oh,
it brings you to Skinamarink. The name was a working name, and it was nostalgic, and it stuck, which I loved it because I liked Skinamarink as a kid, so I knew what it was, and I have the phone.
Oh, you have the phone?
My own Skinamarink phone.
Obviously, I don't have the Skinamarink phone, but I did have that phone as a kid. I did have that phone as a kid.
Oh, me too, as a kid, but now I have another one.
And something with a little something attached to it as well. So yeah, it was really the and you kind of touched on what I wanted to bring up, the atmosphere, the camera, the voices, and the look of it. It had that kind of crackling,
that 70s look.
That really 70s, not
angle.
quite.
Yeah.
Oh, the angles, yes. I mean, you're looking into the corner of the wall, sometimes up in the ceiling, and you're like, okay, what's going on? It puts you on that it makes that tension rise.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun watch.
We all had that fear, didn't we?
I bet.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
Yeah.
always thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's
So the
it's
shots when you're
very
just looking into the
relatable.
closet area, I'm sure
Oh
Yeah.
there's
yeah.
a large person in there.
Your
Mhm.
imagination can do wonderful things.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is
It does, and
like
I'm
you had
glad it
mentioned.
got cut down to where it is. The length was too long for some, and that's fine for them to have that opinion. Uh, I think it was long enough to you know carry out the building of that fear and that atmosphere that was
Yeah.
necessary. Because by the time the jump scares come, I scare myself. I know the jump scares, but when they happen, I forget and I scared myself. So, if you're in that emotional state, I just wonder if everybody was able to get to that emotional state when they were watching the show. Maybe they got distracted or they didn't have the understanding. Maybe they've never had that kind of scary dream. But I know I sure did. And my
Oh no,
kids,
I
my
yes.
kids were scared of the dark too.
Absolutely. It is, it's something, as I mentioned, in a different context, but just, waking up and your mom not being there, your dad not being there, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. And then you got all this, crazy stuff going on, toilets are disappearing. I mean, things are just going AWOL. And it did give, I think that atmosphere helped very well with, building
Mhm.
that dreamlike state. You almost felt like you
Yeah.
were in a dream. I reverted back to some of the dreams I had as a kid that have stuck with me over the years, and it reminded me of that. So, a couple comments
And that
in
was,
the
yeah,
chat.
Kyle's reason.
Yeah, Joe
Hi,
Ridgely
Joe.
says we're very proud to have Jaime Hill as a part of the Indie Escape Network. Some nice
Thank you, Joe.
words there. Brenna says it's better to let the audience let their imagination run. It will always bring
Yeah.
more fear than a cinematographer can do. And I agree,
Yes.
in a lot of films, you don't need per se to see the gore to see things
Yeah.
happen.
No.
Your mind is going to make it a lot scarier,
It's
I
like reading a
believe,
book.
not seeing it.
Yeah.
And speaking
Yeah.
of unseen, let's talk about this project coming up, Unseen. What can you tell us about that? Because I'm sure that's in the very early stages. It does have an Indiegogo campaign, I believe, going
Yep.
on right now. Tell
We
us a little
do.
bit about that.
So Unseen is another Canadian production. It's in the province beside me, British Columbia. It's the west coast of Canada, and we're going to be filming in Kelowna. That area is beautiful and warm. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. It tends to get quite cold here. And the months that we get to go visit BC and film down there will be springtime and beautiful, and flowers will be out. So I'm looking forward to playing another mom role. Crystal is the lead role, and she's got a thing with her mom, and it carries out in the script, and I get to interact with some really interesting characters in the script, and I've really enjoyed rereading there's a right now, and my name is now Charisse Downer, and I have not just Crystal's mom now. We figured out a good name for me, so
Nice.
I'm thrilled to say that. We just figured that out yesterday, announced it, Steve and I. So Unseen is well, unseen. There's an unseen idea to the script, and you're left to figure things out. And I really like those kind of scripts where you're stopping and thinking and concentrating on what you read before. You have to question it. You don't want to have the answers just come to you. You have to just think about what's going on in the movie, and then it all comes together by the end. And it's exciting to get to the end and realize this script is going to be emotionally triggering for so many different emotions, whether it's going to be happy or sad, and or angry or mad. Not just all these angry mum rolls. We'll see how I don't know how friendly I'll be in this one. I think I'm nicer than Skinamarink.
When it comes to when you receive a script, what is it? Is there one thing that has to be the? I mean, is there one thing that will sell you right from the get, or is it just a culmination of a bunch of things? Is there anything that really just sticks right? That you look for? Like, I
Well,
really hope that this
I
script has
grew.
this.
Oh, yes. It's a lot to do with the topic. I
Right.
If someone says the theme, and that theme is just one of my favorite things, or it's similar to a movie I've seen from like the 80s, because usually it's an 80s movie that I just would love to kind of copy again. Not copy, but I would love to be like a detective, or do different things. Like Back to the Future was my favorite movie, and
Oh yeah.
growing up, I didn't have the options to, like, we rented movies. We went to Blockbuster. I didn't get to watch them on TV unless I rented them. And who I was in Vancouver. I didn't go and buy stuff. You watched a movie at school, maybe. So a lot of scary stuff I hadn't seen until I was a teenager, and I got to basically go to Blockbuster, grab all of them, and then binge watch like we used to. But I would be out in the
Hmm.
boonies. I didn't like the city anymore by the time I was a teenager, so I enjoyed just watching movies and finding that horror thing and realizing I really do like horror. And eventually, I just started volunteering with different things, and even kids' birthday parties, Halloween parties, stuff while my kids were around. Now that they're gone and they're grown up, I had to find something else to do. So I went back into acting.
Now,
Now I'm here.
acting on film isn't the only kind of acting that you have done, and I'm referring to scare actors. You are also a scare actor, but I
Yes.
believe I heard on Steve's show last night that particular haunt that you were working at had closed down or something. What's going on with you as a scare actor? What was your character like? And does it? I'm sure your character has a backstory. Most scare actors, and I've dealt with a lot of different. I have a lot of friends that do that, and they always have a
It's
really
on
unique
Facebook.
backstory. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I did different years. I played different characters. I worked at Rutherford Manor Haunted House, which is on Facebook. I ran the Rutherford Manor fan club, and we still have it going. It started out as a haunted house, oh well, gosh, over 12 years now. And food bank and animal rescue donations was all that they asked. And the family started doing it for fundraising for a sports team. And they kept doing it. They kept doing it. Their kids are grown now. So it was time to downsize. So last year was the last year. I The last year I was a little girl. So I have a bunch of freckles on my face and these big pigtails, and I'm only 5'3". So a friend of mine is Gurgles the Clown, and he's quite tall. So we have some pictures of that up on Facebook, and that was the most fun year because we had fundraised over $10,000 that weekend. Only the Friday, Saturday, Sunday that we were open for the food bank, the Edmonton Food Bank. And so it was thrilling to, achieve something that we'd achieved before, but we did it so quickly in this year. We were quite proud it was our last one. The characters before, I've been a waitress with COVID. It was so easy, but yet not easy we had to scare people with masks on, and we had to keep distance. So I'm once again in a little bar, and my husband actually volunteers too. So he and I were scaring actors, and we bounce off each other, and just leading them in through a doorway. And he's more on the other side. I was more like a waitress, sort of distracting them, and he would scare them with his big loud actions too. And, not to say that I didn't have loud actions after they would walk by me, because usually they walk by me and I would give them a little cackle and I kind of scare them a little bit. But it was really easy just to turn on and off. But if you want to hear something, I'm just going to look over there because I know how loud it can get. It was the best. And I would scare people out of their skin. And, I was speechless the first time I did it, and then I went back and back for the next 3 years, and I've had a blast, and I've met so many great people. I've been in Haunters Against Hate, book 2 and 10 or 9, and Paul Leonard is an amazing person who's been putting things on in the States that I can't wait to visit, and high five, because us Hunters Against Hate, I hate bullies.
Oh, yeah.
I had so many bullies. My voice was different. I have ADHD. I'm a little different. If I could help any kind of bully advocacy, when I found Paul and Hunters Against Hate, I was on it right away. So when you guys look into that one, I'm a witch in number 9, but I'm a nun in number 2, book 2. So my other role is a nun, and I occasionally would cackle with that one. She was much more quiet, and I more follow people around them. But we do have videos on YouTube. It's on our Facebook groups too, of all of our shows. Just so many of us would return every year, and it was such a great family feeling to just keep on going. And we're having Edmonton Expo this weekend, so there'll be people with all these skills, the film people there, and it's gonna be nice to actually go see everybody, because there's makeup people there, there's everyone, and it's almost as nice as Halloween when you see somebody that come back to see you again.
Yeah.
And and being a line, I eventually ended up in the line, entertaining people, because the lines just got longer and longer and longer. Mm-hmm. So Hugh and Therese put me out in the line just so I can chitter chat with everybody. And well, I was a little girl at the last one, so I didn't really talk like this. I was more like, "Hi everybody, hi everybody, what are you doing, everybody?" And they would just look at me funny and giggle and take a picture with me. But there was other scary ones that weren't so bubbly and friendly, and I was usually the distraction, because they would sort of show up behind them and scare them. So it's been quite the experience. I would do it again. Gotta figure out where to go this year. There's a lot of local haunts that I've never been to because I had to haunt, that I'm going to go to this year.
Awesome.
That's
awesome. Speaking, that's a great organization, Haunters Against Hate. That's I hate bullies as much as anybody else. I was a victim growing up. And that kind of brings me to one of your other films that I want to talk about. And I think you could probably guess, given the segue of bullying, and that would be Grotesque. I am a huge fan of this movie. I think that it's got that kind of humor in it that I really like. It reminded me, I don't know if anybody has seen God Bless America with and I can't remember his name. He's one of Bill Murray's brothers. He's got like 7 or 8 brothers.
Ryan Doyle Murray?
I believe that is him. Yes. And it kind of had that vibe to it because it had the humor, even though this person's going around and seeking revenge, on, in this case, seeking revenge on bullies because she had kind of a bad plastic surgery, a back alley plastic surgery is what it kind of
Those are the worst kinds.
those are the worst kinds,
Mhm.
never go to a back alley plastic surgeon.
Mhm.
It may not work out very well because it didn't for the
No.
character Mildred Moyer, played by Elizabeth Chamberlain, who was also in the I'm Haunted. I couldn't get it out there. I'm Haunted. I thought she did an absolutely fantastic job in Grotesque. It was funny. It was just a fun ride. Yeah. What would you think about that? Because that's a horror comedy, and I think it accomplished it.
Yeah, definitely. I
And now
think
you're
so
making
too.
Grotesque
We
too,
had
right?
a blast filming it. It took us 3 years. We
Oh, really?
are. We
Wow.
are. I'm almost done all of my scenes now. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's so nice to see everybody. Higher Universe Pictures, Brandon Reines, thank you for bringing me on so many years ago. I got to put in my time learning from in front and behind camera, um, learning from the best. Edmonton's got a great family, and they brag about you if they like you. And I got to meet so many people and just be a PA. And I'm still a PA when I can. I've gotten a little busy recently, so my wonderful friend Daryl Flowers is helping me be their beautiful PA, and I'm popping in when I can to support my local family, my local actor friends, and I hope to see them again on the 24th. So it's been usually maybe once or twice a month we get to see each other, but making movies every 6 months, there's always something coming.
I was going to
Right.
ask you about that. What's the indie film community like there in Canada? Is it a thriving community? Is there a lot going on?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in Edmonton. Calgary also has an indie film community, but Calgary also has more warehouse spaces that they use for filming, like The Last of Us and those big warehouse
Oh,
spaces. We have warehouses in Edmonton too that are set up, and different areas and different companies that have recording spaces. We have libraries that you could record. I can go to the public library and record in a little sound room now
oh
using
wow.
Audacity. Yeah. So, it's the communities helping put things in there for the arts, and it's
Mhm.
like even in the schools. So, Nate, as an actor, I started volunteering with Nate, and that's how I met those other students. And Kyle used to be a student there, and they knew each other, and word of mouth, the networking is just unbelievable. But the education, the learning you get is you can't. It's priceless. So I've spent a few years just evolving every part of myself, whether it was me being wanting to be a producer or an actor or just doing like learning camera stuff and everything.
All aspects. Is there any
But I do want to
directing
say there is a I'm
aspiration?
Haunted too.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
No, either did I.
What's the deal with that?
We just released it. I just I just shared that today. I'm Haunted's poster just came out. It was just recently dropped. I was busy all day. I've seen the link. It's on my Facebook. Um, I know that I believe it's Brandon that released it. I have to go look again because I've basically got home and then popped on to see you guys. It's a neat little role. You know, they know I'm busy, so they give me the little things that I'm able to pop in for, and I can make it work because the heavier loads are bigger scripts, and my friends know that I still want to be there and help, and I get some funny roles to just either make you laugh or cry, or I don't know, we'll see. um so it's nice. And I already did my filming for I'm Haunted #2. So
Nice.
we'll see when
See,
Brandon gets it all done.
that's awesome. Got a Joe Ridgely has left the building just a few minutes ago. He said, "See you this weekend at Phantasm, Rick." He's going to see you
Hi,
there.
Joe.
Awesome. I
Uh,
unfortunately will not be there, but my team will be.
there you go. There's going to be somebody from Indie Horror Junkie out there.
Oh, for sure.
Brenna says, Otis, you are the human equivalent of a film dissolve with your amazing vocal transition. Just such a joy to
Wow.
listen. Wow. Well, thank you.
Screenshot that, Otis.
Man, no, that is awesome. And let's see. Brenna also says here, horror actors, filmmakers seem to be a close group, no matter where they are, where you are. And that's true. I've found that in the indie horror community. Such great people that I've met. Just over the past probably 6 months, it's amazing. Where can these movies be found? I think he's talking about Skinamarink and Grotesque. Grotesque, I believe I seen on Tubi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I watched Skinamarink on Hulu again earlier today. So yeah, so
Or
that's
Prime.
where you can.
It's almost on Amazon Prime.
Prime Video, yes, you can probably all the major ones because as we mentioned,
Most of them,
it did really well. Skinamarink did, and then that had to be a shock for director Kyle Edward Ball because that was his debut directorial feature film debut, and it has that much success. I mean, given how much finances was put into it versus what he got, what it grossed and what it made. That's got to be wow. I mean, that had to put him on cloud 9.
Yeah, I can't even fathom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
there going to be a Skinamarink too?
That's exactly what I was about to ask her.
Not by Kyle.
Not by
Kyle, but Kyle gave me permission. Kyle gave me permission to make Skinamarink too.
Wow.
So I have some ideas in mind.
Very cool. Would love to see that happen.
Oh, absolutely. So that could be then your directorial debut.
So it may not even be, it may not even be close. Yeah. I might do a backstory kind of idea.
I love a good backstory. I know some people don't like it. They didn't like what, Rob Zombie did with Halloween with the little backstory and diving into the Myers family. I like it. I like when stories go back, do prequels, and so you can see how things evolved and got to the point of where they're at. That's why I got into true crime, and I think I probably mentioned this on the show before, but that's why I got into true crime is because I want to know why this cute little baby in this picture grew up 30 years later to eat his neighbor or something. I mean, what happened there? What happened in all those years? So that's awesome. That's awesome.
What would happen to it would be neat to figure out what happened to that little boy when he grew up, and he has some flashbacks, and the possibilities are endless. I did want to tell you can see I'm Haunted on YouTube, Higher Universe Pictures. Brandon has that YouTube. That's where you can find I'm Haunted. You start at the first original one. There's 63 episodes, I believe.
Wow.
And you can also buy it and see the whole I'm Haunted on one DVD, which I have the DVD now, so I can watch it either way. If you want, you could just watch a couple little clips at a time. And when we released it, it was released a little at a time. So Elizabeth is playing this character that's sort of popping online and explaining what's happening to them. And it took 60 something little videos of following to figure out the whole story. and now there's a part 2 coming. So it's neat to see how it's extended, and I'm looking forward to more people enjoying the I'm Haunted and the family that we've created way up here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's another gooder. It's another gooder, you know.
Another gooder?
Same team.
It's a gooder.
So you expect, yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess it's a Canadian thing. It's the same group of us, so you know it's gonna be funny and it's gonna be scary. And you know, Brandon's a great writer. He does so much different stories that you know. I asked him if he wanted to help me with Skinamarink too. So there's so many people ideas and topics to discuss when it comes to all these films that are popping up more, and I'm sure I'm still gonna have Higher Universe adding to my list just because it's been such a great experience.
That's awesome. Brenna chimed in a couple comments in the chat I want to bring to light. Brenna chimed in, better a backstory than a remake. I have to 1,000% agree with
Right?
you.
Yeah.
Don't try to duplicate what we've already grown to love over
Nope.
the years, and taken, you know, in some cases, ruin it. Derek Bailey is with us. Derek says it's something he'd like to have our opinion on. In a created creature killer film, which is where everything is normal, but the CK, a creature killer, is created during the film. How long can I wait before I have the spell turn my cheerleaders into undead killers? 20, 40?
I don't know. I think that really depends on the story itself and stuff. I mean, I've seen movies that pretty much start right from the outset, get the people's attention and just make it a roller coaster right from the get go, or you have the slow burn, you know. So I really think it just depends on the storyline and what the movie is going to be about. As far as like, is it going to be more of a psychological film, or is it going to be more like an effects heavy film that we're going to try and shock everybody with what we see? So I think it really depends on what you've got planned.
Oh, I think we have that answer right here. All my films will take place in the same town, sort of a Stephen King type vibe, where all his take place in Maine. So many things wrong in this town. So a horror multiverse world.
I love horror multiverses. I'm doing that with my Halloween Death Walks Among Us, so I'm all about that. But Jamie, as we're getting ready to close out the episode here, why don't you give us a little story, or not a story, but give us a little idea of what you've got coming up, some things down the turnpike, anything that you want to throw out there that you want to make mention of, that you want to give props to. Let us know what's going on and what's coming up with you.
Sure. I have a role. Her name is Marianne on Good Arson, another Canadian writer-director who's made me a mother who, I guess I'm an angry mother again. So you see my face this time. So I'm looking forward to you guys actually seeing me interact, not like a knee test or not from like a scare actor who's going to cackle in your face, but I mean, just coming from an angry mother role. You know, I was told I kicked ass with the audition. My poor little Pomeranian peed on the floor when I auditioned.
That's a good sign.
Yell, and you'll hear me yell in this one. So I'm looking forward to it coming out. The trailer's out. It's now on my Facebook page. It's been over a little while. I shared it again because everybody was asking me last night. And Alan Wilson asked me and actually wrote me in for the mom role, which is such a wonderful feeling. It's been happening a lot lately. And she'll be out soon, and you get to see a bit of the clip in there and hear my angry voice.
Uh-oh.
But just keep watching my Facebook and my Instagram.
There you go. What is your Instagram? Is it just Jaime Hill?
It's jamie.hill.vo. So JAIME.VO or .HILL.VO.
All right,
Yeah,
that's the
spelled
Instagram,
a
and
little
then
bit
just
different. The other
Jaime
Jamie Hill
there
is
on
actually another
Facebook.
voiceover artist.
Oh, really?
Yep. There's 2.
Interesting.
So Jaime Hill, if you spell it, yeah, she's a voiceover artist also. She also has nice long hair too, and I've messaged her before, so because I often wonder, we have very similar emails, like you just changed the A and the I, like, so we've gotten each other's emails. Great voice actor. You know, just Facebook is usually a messenger, and Instagram is also something to find me on. And, I just love being on the social media app. So if you send me a message, usually it's Facebook, not Instagram that I answer on, but I will answer Instagram.
There you go. Brenna says, keep screaming, Jamie. What a joy to have you, to have this time with you. It was a joy talking indie horror, talking Skinamarink. It was a great time. I hope you had a good time with us, and much luck with Unseen, with Skinamarink 2, with Grotesque 2. I mean, you got so many good things coming up, and I can't. I'm haunted,
and even more. I can't even share yet. So.
Oh my goodness, you're going to be a busy lady here soon. But thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you
so much for joining us. And hey, we will talk soon. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and the best of luck to you moving forward there.
Thanks, and I love. All right.
Bye-bye. All right. That was what an awesome talk.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
Yes, and a lot of good things coming up. I thought, I would just throw the whole Skinamarink 2 out there just to see, I had no idea I was going to get the answer that I got. Because I would like to see, as Brenna said, and we all kind of agreed, backstories are good.
Yeah, and you heard it here first on the Indie Horror Junkie, Skinamarink 2 in the hands of Jaime Hill.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see what that's going to bring about. And Grotesque 2, one that I can't say enough of. I had a bunch of reviews and whatnot that I was going through, and most of them, that you got a handful. Out of the ones I look through on IMDb, you see Grotesque is great low budget horror comedy slasher. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. These are the titles of these reviews, 10 out of 10. Then every once in a while, I can't even imagine this being watchable for majority of people. You're always going to have that, but for the most part, for the most part, these are all really good reviews through the IMDb. More good than bad, I'll put it that way. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Absolutely.
And you may have to watch it 2 or 3 times. I know I did. And I may have to watch it again because, as you heard Jamie say, every time she sees the trailer, she sees something a little different. She notices things, but, she was kind of there. So she has the upper hand, I think.
Right. And just to remind everybody also, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, the new Indie Horror Junkie issue number 4 has dropped. It's available for free to download. Just go to indiehorrorjunkie.com and download your copy, read some of the articles, catch up on what's going on in the world of indie horror. And we also have a special edition coming out in October. Normally, we release our magazines every 2 months, but we have a firm, hard rule that every time a month has a Friday the 13th, we have a special Friday the 13th issue, and October has Friday the 13th. So there will be an October Friday the 13th issue dropping, and then we'll get the next episode, or the next issue, in November. So you'll have 3 back-to-back issues coming out here. So please enjoy them. Pass them on. Make sure you tell everybody about them, and download them, print them out, leave them everywhere so people can see them. Whatever you can do, spread the word, because we've got a lot of indie horror left to come.
That's right. That's right. A lot. And, there's projects that just are sprouting up left and right. We heard a handful from just one guest. That's just one person, imagine all of the other actors, actresses out there that have projects coming. A lot of good things happening. in the indie horror spectrum. And Mr. Nanners, he joined us late. Shame on you, Mr. Nanners.
No, very late.
He he can catch the rerun. But speaking of Mr. Nanners, I also want to again remind people, head on over to Kickstarter, Hellbuyer's Haunted Asylum of Horror. Mr. Morgan Wellborn, this is his first feature, and if you want to know what you're getting into, you can check out Hellbuyers on the Run. If you go to the Kickstarter, I believe there's a link where you can watch it, and it'll take you to it. So we're almost to that stretch goal, and we're trying to make dreams happen here, people. So
absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if there's anybody in the Orlando or the Florida area this coming weekend, the 15th, 16th, and 17th, definitely head on over to Orlando and check out the Phantasm Film Festival. There's the Shock Reel Film Festival they got there, and Phantasm Orlando Convention. They've got a lot of great guests, and you'll also find a table in the vendor section where you'll be able to meet and greet some of the people behind the Florida HorrorCon. You'll get to meet Amy, that's also a part of our Indie Horror Junkie. They've got free pins out there. She's going to have T-shirts, information on the Florida HorrorCon and on Indie Horror Junkie. You'll get to meet Krista Grotti-Saxon, who is a star, our Necro Nancy from the Nightmare Collection, and lots of great stuff going on. So head on over there and say hi and pick up your Indie Horror Junkie pin.
That's right. Get you some free swag. I mean,
Absolutely.
Who doesn't want free stuff, especially with the name Indie Horror Junkie on there? Wear it loud, wear it proud.
Absolutely.
Let your free flag fly.
Exactly. So who we got coming up next week, Otis?
Next week, you caught me off guard. I have to. You did. You got me. I had 50 million tabs opened up, and that was one of the ones I didn't have open. Next week, we have Ash Hamilton, writer, director, producer, owner of horrorfix.com, horror-fix.com, also owner of the Scareplex horror streaming service. Holes in the Sky is one that I think is the one that most people, if you know Ash, then you that's probably the one that you know about. I have watched that. I'll have to rewatch it because I watched it about a year or so ago. But
well, I'm definitely
yeah. He's going to be a fun talk. He's got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, the Scareplex streaming service is what I really want to chat him up about, because being an indie filmmaker myself, indie horror filmmaker, I mean, that just is another great avenue for indie horror films to get out there. And I want him to be able to let us all know what's going on there with that and how we can get be a part of that.
Yeah, I was actually, looking around, seeing if I could, take and find it somewhere. And either I wasn't looking in the right place or just
Ash will let us know.
Ash will let us know. So yes, that's going to be next week. A lot of good people coming up, but we'll save them. Yeah, you can head on over to the indiehorrorjunkie.com. Get the new issue of the magazine. Check out who we got coming up on the podcast. Stay up to date. Feed the need, baby. Feed the need.
All right. Well, in saying goodbye, let's just not say goodbye. Let's just say see you next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.